All right, I think the recording started. So I just want to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Liz of eCake Be Merry, and I am so glad to be here with Michaels and Satin to teach you how to make Smiley Daisy cupcakes. Now, this is a design that's going to be really popular amongst your guests and kids especially. It just has such a cheerful, happy design to it. And they keep really well. Like these toppers, we're gonna make out of fondant, and I previously made these so you could see how they dry. So if you want to make these ahead of time for a party you have coming up, or even if you make a lot of extra today, you can keep them on hand and easily decorate cupcakes for when you need. All right, so we're gonna get started. Hopefully everyone is in the session, and I'm just gonna flip this over so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right. Let me just get this situated. All right, so one of the first things we're gonna do is color fondant, and you can pick any different colors you want. I know in the project we have some turquoise, pinks, and purples going on, but if you wanted to do like orange or yellows or different greens, feel free to kind of change it up and personalize it to how you want it. Now, Satin does have a line of colored fondant, which is all available at Michael's, but today I'm gonna be showing you how to just take white fondant and color it yourself, especially if you want a bigger batch than what's available in these sizes. It's always good to have a tub of white on hand. All right, so when you open your fondant, it'll be nice and tightly packed. And for each color, we're just going to be making a few. So you don't really need that much fondant. But if you want to make extras, please feel free to do so. Now, this fondant is really soft out of the tub. It has great consistency. So you can just tear off a little bit, or you can use a knife and cut it off too. Now, for each color, you'll probably need just like a small ball about this size, small amount. And then we'll get 3 different colors. Right. And when you're working with fondant and you're going to store it, always make sure to try to get as much air out of the packaging as possible. So give it a good squeeze, twist the top, because air will start to dry out your fondant. So you just want to make sure that everything's nice and soft for next time. All right, so I'm just going to put it back in the bucket. I twisted it up, took out all the air, put it upside down, and make sure that the seal is nice and tight. All right, so here's the next part where we're gonna pick our colors. Now I'm just gonna go kind of along the lines of what we had in the sample demos. And with these food colorings, you can get them as saturated or as light as you want. So if you want them much darker than this, you can just add more food coloring and adjust to that. But let's go ahead and start with our yellow. So these are gel food colors. They're very, very strong. So a little goes a long way. So always color modestly first, and then if you want more colors, add more. They do tend to stain your hands though because they are so saturated. So if you want to avoid stains, you can definitely wear gloves. That'll help you, that'll prevent you from looking like a crazy person when you go out. But yes, so this fondant, again, is really nice and soft, but then when we want decorations that are firm, we just have to leave it out and it'll dry for us. So I'm just gonna knead it a little to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of create a well in the middle, and I'm gonna add, let's start with just 1 drop of the yellow. And just start kneading it in. Now, if you have a larger batch, it's better to like knead right on the table. You can just use your palm, kind of push that. But I just have a little bit here, so I'll just do it with my fingers. All right, and you'll see how quickly that color came together. All right. The coloring is, again, nice, bright, and vibrant. Even though it may look a little like orangish in the bottle, once you knead it in, it turns into this really bright yellow, which is super beautiful and perfect for our smiley faces. All right, so I'm just gonna roll that and leave it to the side, and we're gonna pick our next color. Take a little bit more from here so it's even. All right, next I'm going to use the rose, which is the pink. And again, just create a little well. Whoop, and just do one drop. Let's see how saturated that is. And if you want it darker, just add more. But really, this, whether it's light or dark, you know, it'll go with any design. So it'll look nice either way. All right, here we have this beautiful, beautiful pink. And see how well the color mixes in. Just gonna make sure that it's fully in there and that there's no more streaks left. One more mix. All right, that looks pretty good. So we'll just leave that to the side as well. And next we'll do our purple. Make a little hole. Give that a mix. Such a beautiful color. Okay, I can already see that the color palette we have that we're building right now is going to look really, really pretty. So we have yellow, pink, purple, and then finally, let's do some turquoise. Making sure that's nice and soft. Add a drop of coloring. And knead it in. Now, the reason I make a well when I put the food coloring is so that I could fold it over and start kneading. Because if you just drop it right on top and start kneading, that coloring is going to get all over you. So you want to make sure to kind of fold the fondant over it so that you can try to contain as much of the coloring as possible until it starts mixing in thoroughly. All right, wow, what a beautiful color. So vibrant and bright. Matches our happy smiley face theme really well. And this, I'm working on a silicone mat. It really helps when you're working with fondant because it doesn't stick as much as a regular surface. So I know Michael's does have like a silicone baking mat and it's listed on the items. So definitely worth getting. All right, so look at these really happy, beautiful, fun colors. All right, I'm gonna take my gloves off because we're done with the coloring. Let me just move a few things out of the way that we're not gonna use at the moment. Move our references up as well. All right, so the next tool I have is this duster. So fondant, it does have a tendency to kind of stick. And even though the silicone mat isn't as sticky as a regular surface, it always helps if you have some cornstarch. Now this will prevent it sticking from your hands, from the surface. So if you want to kind of rub your hands with it, it'll really help minimize the stickiness. And what we're going to do now is we're going to cut out our shapes because we need them to dry a little bit before we start adding markers to it. So here I have a rolling pin. It's nice and small. It's great for small projects when you're making decorations like this. And I'll start with the yellow. So what we're going to do is just from the center, we're just going to start rolling it out. And you can see like if it's sticking to this, again, that's where the cornstarch really comes in handy. And this dusting pouch, it's also available on, it's listed on the tool list. Okay, and once I have that rolled out to a thickness about this much, I'm just gonna let it sit for a second over on the side because it's much easier to cut out fondant when it's not super, super soft so that it doesn't distort its shape. So I'm just gonna let it dry over here and hang out while I roll out the other colors. All right, so a little bit more cornstarch, a little bit on top too. And if you have any questions while I'm doing this, please feel free to ask, and we'll get the moderator to throw the questions at me. All right, so I can see that as I'm rolling this, the color is still a little marbled, so I'm just going to go ahead and knead it so that the color is more consistent. Now the marbling look, it's really cool, and if you want to do marbled ones, you can. It's great for, a bunch of different themes, but here I just wanted one solid color. All right, so that should be much better. So again, a little cornstarch. And how sticky your fondant is will really depend on your atmosphere. I'm in Houston, Texas right now, so it's super, super humid and like 93 degrees. So it does kind of change with the environment you're in. So if you're in a super dry place, you might not need the cornstarch as much. All right, check the thickness again. Looks pretty even. Gonna let this hang out over here. All right, let's go ahead with the turquoise. And when I roll, you'll notice that I'm continuing to like spin the fondant. And that just helps keep, everything really nice and consistent. Right, again, thickness is nice. Just gonna let that dry off. Okay, and we have our last color, which is the pink. From the center, push up and down. Keep your fondant spinning. Ooh. Kind of fold it on itself, but no worries. We can just smooth it out like that. And we'll just cut around that part. All right, so just so it doesn't stick, I'm just gonna add a little bit more. All right, and we have all our fondant rolled out now. Everything is a pretty similar thickness. You can kind of graze your hands over it and kind of feel if it's, high in some points or low in some points. If it's not even, go ahead and just take your rolling pin and even out whichever side is a little high. Like right here, a little higher than the rest. So just make it nice and even. All right, so we'll go back to the first one that we rolled, which was our yellow. And for this, we're going to be cutting out the circles of our smiley face. Now in the 25-piece multi-shape fondant cutter set, there's a few, like 3 daisies and 3 circles. You can pick whichever size you want. Or if you have other kinds of daisies, you can use those as well. I just had a few of these laying around the house, and this one has a few more petals. So each one, everything's going to look cute. So use whatever you have. And then just try to pick a circle that fits well inside your flower. Right. And so again, with the circles, I'm just using this small circle cutter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press right into the fondant, and then I'm going to like give it a little shimmy, like left and right, just so it cuts nicely and we have nice smooth edges. Otherwise, sometimes you can kind of get like scraggly edges. So we just want to make sure everything's nice and smooth. So I'm just going to punch out a bunch of these circles and place them right on my surface. And you can see that this part is pretty easy. This is a really good activity to do with your kids if you want to get them involved, because fondant, it has like a very playful texture, kind of like Play-Doh. So it's really fun, and it's even better because it's edible. So it's nice and sweet. So if you want to get them involved and kind of have like a sensory activity for them, this is a great thing to do. Kids love playing with fondant. My kids do for sure. All right, so you could see that a little goes a long way. So I'm just going to stop there with the yellow because I have quite a few, and that should be enough for what we're doing. So I'm just going to roll, like kind of bunch back the fondant that we have so it doesn't dry out. And you can roll it into a ball, and you can either wrap it in plastic wrap or place it in a Ziploc so that this doesn't dry out and you can use it again for another project. All right, and now we're going to go ahead with our flowers. So similar to what we were doing earlier, we're just going to take our cutter and we're going to stamp it and then push it left and right a little bit so that there's a nice clean cut. Just going to pop that out and set that aside. We just want these to dry a little bit because it's much easier to write on the surface with our edible markers when it's not so moist. Right, so we got a handful of blossoms out of that one. Again, whatever scraps you have, do not waste this because you can easily just save it for later. All right, let's go with our next color. So this is sticking a little bit, so I'm just gonna place more cornstarch. And again with our cutter, nice clean cuts.
Hi, Liz, I have a question.
Yes, sure.
How do you make fondant usable after it has hardened?
Oh, so if
Long
it's
time
like,
storage. Oh, there's more. And is it usable if it's still in the package after a long time?
yeah, as long as it's not like crumbling, then, then it just kind of reminds you that when you are reusing it and packaging it up, make sure that you get all the air out so that it doesn't dry. But if the fondant kind of created like a little crust, then you can just knead it back in. And if it's like big chunks, you can kind of just remove the chunks and continue to knead it. You could also incorporate some Crisco, kind of like shortening, and knead that in to make your fondant much softer if it feels a little too firm. And also, if it is firm, you can also soften it in the microwave. Just make sure that you put it in like 10-second bursts because you don't want it to get like too hot and like melty. But microwaving it is a really quick way to soften up your fondant. And I used to do that a lot when I used to live up north because the fondant would get really cold in the winter. So it was like really firm, so it would really hurt my wrists if I try to use it at that temperature. But I would just microwave it for a few minutes, like for a few seconds at a time until it was nice and malleable like this. And then it worked out really good. So yeah, try a few of those tips and hopefully that's helpful. But the main thing is when you store it, you really want to make sure that you're storing it properly so that it doesn't dry out. All right, so we have a few more and I'm just kind of placing them all over because I'm going to be using this surface for a few other things while we prep our buttercream and stuff. We'll just leave those off to the side. All right, and so I only got 4 pink ones, but say I wanted more, you can just, again, knead this, roll it out again, and then cut a few more. So let me just make one more for you just to show you. All right, super easy. So we are on our way to creating our cupcake toppers. Now you'll see here, like there was a little air bubble and even here stuck in the fondant. If you see something that's that big, you can definitely take like a little pin and just poke it in gently and just smooth that air bubble out. So it'll be much nicer. And this one, it doesn't really matter because we're going to be covering this area, but still, I know it's there. So, uh, so you can just pop that too. So that tends to happen when you're kneading fondant, you're constantly folding it over itself and such. So that air is kind of getting incorporated. There might be a few pockets that develop. So if that's the case, always just have one of these on hand. I have it right in my drawer, just so I can pop those air bubbles when I need. All right, so we have all our blossoms and the centers of our face cut out, and hopefully if you guys are following along, you are at this point too. But the next thing we're gonna do is color some green buttercream. So here I have some buttercream frosting. This is completely ready to use. All you have to do is open up the package and it's good to go. Satin Nice also has pre-colored buttercream frosting in a bunch of different colors too. So if you didn't have time to color it yourself, you could definitely just get some of the pre-made colors. But today we're going to be doing it ourselves just so you can see. And we're going to be using the bright green. This has a really great like neonness to it as opposed like to the regular green. That's a little bit darker and more muted. So we're going to use the bright one to kind of match the color scheme that we have going on here with the bright poppy colors. All right, so you can mix this right in here, or you can transfer it to a bowl, up to you. I think I'm just gonna do it in here so you guys can see how the color is developing because the bowl is much bigger than the little tub. Okay, and depending on how many cupcakes you're making, just make sure to kind of portion out how much buttercream you need. All right, and we're still going to be using the gel food coloring. So this is the same thing as the other ones were. So if you wanted any of your buttercream to be any of the other colors, you can definitely grab those too. But here, I like the contrast of green. So I'm adding a few drops because there is quite a bit of buttercream. And then all I'm going to do is start mixing it in. Now I also picked the green because I feel like it acts like as if it was grass and these were like blossoms sitting on grass. So that's why I chose this color, but I'm sure any color would work really well. All right, so you can see how bright this color is, and it blends in super nice with the buttercream. And this buttercream is so smooth and silky. I love it because it doesn't form like a thick crust like some of the other ready-to-use buttercreams out there do. This actually stays pretty soft and thin, so it's really great because it has good mouthfeel too. All right, so I'm going to scrape the sides as well as the bottom to really make sure that all of that white has turned green. So I see a few streaks left like here. So I'm just going to really make sure that everything is nicely incorporated. See, we have some white there. So it's really important to try to get the bottom of the bowl as well as the sides. All right, we don't want to incorporate too much air into this. So once the color is mixed in, and I usually mix in like a folding motion. So I'll like fold it over itself and mix it in just so I'm not adding too much air. And then that's ready to go. Look at this beautiful, vibrant color. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to place it in a piping bag. So we have these plastic disposable pastry bags. If you have reusable ones, you can definitely use those too. And what we're going to do is we're going to use tip 1M to pipe some rosettes. So it looks like a star. You can see from the top, opening right there. They're kind of focusing, but but this is the shape, and that's going to give us a really, really nice texture on our buttercream swirls. Now, the first thing we have to do is place this tip inside our piping bag. So I'm just going to open it up, place it in. And once you've pushed it towards the tip, you're going to know how much to cut. So once that's there, I'm going to push it back just slightly and then cut it there because you don't want to cut too much. We just want to make sure that the plastic clears little teeth on this. And then we're good to go. Because if you cut too much and you start piping, the pressure from the buttercream as you're piping will kind of make the bag stretch and the piping tip can pop out. So just a modest cut is good. Just make sure from all sides that it's clear of the teeth on here. All right, so now we're ready to fill our piping bag. And the first thing you want to do is fold this over to create a cuff. That's going to help fill our bag cleanly so we don't have a bunch of buttercream all over the place. I'm just going to create a cup, open it up so it has, a clear entrance. And then I'm going to hold my hand in the shape of a C. And that's going to give me stability while I fill my bag. And so you can see this is what it should look like. And now I'm just going to grab my buttercream, place it inside. Okay, and this is where holding your hand in the shape of a C also like comes in handy because you can fill the piping bag and kind of wipe it across where your hand is holding the bag, and that'll allow you to get as much buttercream as possible in. All right, so I'm kind of pushing down as I do this to make sure that it fills in the bag. You don't want to put too much in or else, it can start getting a little wobbly while you pipe. So I recommend just filling it as much as it's manageable. And then if you need to refill it, you can do so later just by reopening the bag. But for now, We want enough that's manageable to pipe with in our hands. All right, so I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna put this to the side for if we need more. And I'm gonna bring in our cupcakes. Okay, so I'll leave this here so you guys can see. But we have our cupcake and it's a really nice curved surface. It's not too high of a dome in the center, which is great. And what we want to do when we go to pipe is we want to secure our buttercream in the bag. We don't want it blowing all over the place and getting all over our hands and table. So in order to do that, just push everything down, and where it kind of ends, you want to clamp it with your thumb, give it a good twist, and that will really secure it. So now even if you squeeze, as you squeeze, the buttercream is going to go down, not up. All right. And now we have our cupcake. And when we pipe a rosette, we want to start in the center because I'll show you. If we just pipe around the center, it'll be empty. Of course, you can fill it in, but it's best just to kind of seamlessly go and not break the rhythm of the piping. So start in the center and then draw around it. Okay, and when you're ending, you kind of want to like flick your wrist and you want to thin out that buttercream so it'll create like a peak like that so it doesn't have such an abrupt ending. You want to make sure that it's kind of smooth so it all looks seamless. All right, so we're just going to take all our cupcakes and one by one do that. So again, keep clamping your thumb on there so your buttercream stays in the bag. Start in the center of the cupcake and then go around, creating that nice swirl. All right, so go ahead and practice ending your swirl because that can be the trickiest part. Okay, so you'll see I'm kind of swiftly swooping it around at the end. Okay, in the center, all the way around. And we can still use this one where I showed, demonstrated kind of like that mistake, but we'll cover up the center. So that's totally fine. Now I have a few more cupcakes. So I'm just gonna go grab those right here. Okay, and let's do these ones as well. And I still have buttercream left in my bag, so I don't have to refill it just yet. Okay, and that one I ended in the center, just to show you a different way of doing it. And if you wanted to create different patterns with this piping tip, you can as well. Say, for instance, you wanted to create like shells. Feel free to kind of get playful with your piping tip. So you could do that and then place your blossom on top. Or maybe you want to do like a zigzag like this. So you don't always just have to do the rosette. You can also do different kinds of textures to create more variation. All right, so now that we have all of these piped on, we're going to move back to our smileys. I'm going to clean off my space. All right, so by now these should be a little bit more manageable, not as soft as before. If you wanted to write on this right when you cut it, it would be really like wobbly. So allowing it a few minutes to dry really helps. Even if you have even more time than what we're doing in this live stream, I definitely recommend at least giving them like maybe 30 minutes to an hour just to kind of develop a crust so that it's easier to write with. But we can go ahead and do this now. All right, so I'm going to show you what we're going to use, and these are edible markers. So there's a bunch of different kinds. So you'll see they come in different colors and different kind of brush, like different tip styles. So this one is a brush tip, and that looks like this, almost like an eyeliner. And then we have the bold tip, which looks like this. This is more like your traditional marker. And then there's a fine tip, which really allows you to create good details because it's so thin. And you can use whichever one you want. I personally just really like working with a brush tip because it's very smooth. But you can play around with all these different types. And I think most of the different tip styles do have a black. Now, I'm gonna try to make this design a little cartoony, and that's why I have all of these um, markers. So these lines, you'll notice this is really forgiving design because it is a cartoon style. It doesn't need to be perfect. We want to skip some spots, make some spots thicker, some spots thinner, add some little details. So you'll notice like this isn't one stream, like one consistent line. It kind of breaks at a few points. And that's on purpose because I want it to look like a cartoon. I don't want it to look too perfect. So that's why this is a really great, easy design to start with. All right, so you'll notice that we have some here that I'll just keep as reference. And maybe I might zoom in a little bit for you, just so you could see it, what I'm doing a little bit better because it's so tiny. You'll see like this is my finger. It's super tiny, but really, really cute. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is you can start with the eyes or start with the smile, whichever one you want. But I think I'm just gonna start with the eyes. So I'm just gonna create two little dots like that. And then when I do the smile, for me, I personally find it easier to do an upside down arch than like an arch that goes like this. So instead of drawing like this, I'm actually gonna flip this over. And I'm gonna do the arch this way because it's just easier for me. So do whatever you're more comfortable with. And once I draw that, I'm just gonna come in on the ends and draw a little line like that to complete our smile. Now, if you want to exaggerate the cartoon nature of this, you can go ahead and come around the edge, kind of draw along there. Now the markers do take a few seconds to dry. So if you touch it immediately, you'll notice that the marker will transfer on your hand. I'll just show you. So if I were to touch this right now, that's really cute. But it would transfer. So you want to give it like a few seconds before you actually touch what you drew. So you can see that I'm trying to handle it really carefully just by um, pushing it from the side instead of like picking it up. All right. All right, that side got a little thick, but it's okay. We'll kind of balance it out on this side by adding a little bit more thickness. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and do that with all our little circles or as many as you wanna use. And again, I really like the brush tip for this because it allows me to kind of be more delicate than with like the bold tip. All right, and the fondant is, again, still a little soft because ideally we would want to let it rest and dry like half an hour or an hour, but it's still, firm enough to draw on, right? Handle it delicately, just push it instead of lifting it so the ink doesn't transfer. And this one I just started with the outline, just shows you that you can kind of do whatever you're most comfortable with. Again, let's draw two eyes, going upside down for my smile, and two lines. All right, super cute. Let's move this over here, grab another one. And if you do make a mistake with like your marker and it's something that you need to use, like you can't remake it easily, you can always just let the marker dry and then take a little bit of lemon extract or even some like vodka, and that'll put it on a Q-tip and that will allow you to kind of erase your edible marker. And then you can just let it dry and then you'll be good to go again. Then you could try your design again after it's all dried up. All right, so we're gonna create just a couple more of these, just so we have enough for all our cupcakes. Smile. And this can be kind of more like like different emoji styles if you want. So if you want to do some that are winking, some that are just like this, some that are have like a different mouth, you definitely can. You can change it up so not everything is so consistent. So for instance, if you want to do a wink right there, maybe like a big mouth like that, feel free to mix it up. That would be really, really cute. All right, so now that we have a few smiley faces, we're gonna go ahead and draw the outlines on our flowers. So we can grab some of the flowers here. And with this one, I'm gonna go around the entire blossom, just drawing along the edges, kind of bringing it in towards the center. And then I'm gonna add a few of these like accent lines that you can see on here. It kind of makes it look a little bit more cartoony. So just starting on the edge. So I'm gonna, instead of like drawing right here, I'm gonna bring it in just a little bit to make each petal a little bit more defined. So you'll see the difference. Right here, I'll just do where it ends at the petal, like at the cutter. Okay, so you'll notice this side doesn't look as like exaggerated as this side, because this side, the lines are coming in a little bit more. So each petal is a bit more defined, but on this side, it's a little too loose. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come back in and draw some lines. So try to, when you're drawing, just try to do that to accentuate the shape of it. Okay, and now that we have this general outline, I can go in random spots and kind of do these like half curves to add a little dimension to them. All right, so we have that one. We're gonna keep going. And these edible markers, again, a really, really fun thing to use with kids. You can use them in so many different applications, especially these brush ones. You can write on top of chocolate too because they're oil-based, which is really great. So this is also another really fun activity to do with them so that they can kind of be artistic, but still keep everything edible and safe. All right, so I'm going to come in and exaggerate a bit more the center lines. All right, you'll see how cute that looks. And a few curves like that. All right, let's do a pink one. And you can try a few designs, like if you wanted to go all the way around without breaking the line, and see if you like that. But again, I personally like where there are a few breaks so that it looks more like hand-drawn. It's really hard to make a mistake with this design. So again, really forgiving. Let's draw a few more here and there. And we're good to go. All right, we're gonna just do a few more and then we'll glue these on, like the faces onto the bottom. Now I do have a tip, because earlier I said that you can make these ahead of time. You just wanna make sure to store them in an airtight container. But what I wanna mention is that if you're making any decorations that are purple, over time they have a tendency to fade even if you keep them out of direct sunlight. So that's the one color that I probably wouldn't make ahead of time. If you wanted to do purple ones, you should just do those closer to the date of your event. Okay, and then the purple one. This would be great for a summer birthday party, pool party, end of year, or like school year, end of school year parties that are going on right now. Or like some retro themed party. All right, let's do one more. And the brush tip again is perfect for this one just because it kind of lets you get around the sides a bit easier, and you don't have to press as firmly because you can like delicately apply that marker. All right, so a few curves here. Oop, I forgot curves on this one, so let's add some there. Just a few. Don't overwhelm it too much. All right, that looks great. All right, so we have our smiley faces, we have our base blossoms, and now we're gonna glue the two together. And to do that, we're gonna use edible glue. So here we have Satin edible glue, and this is like, it sticks really nicely. If you don't have this, you can actually just use a brush with a little bit of water, like just a tiny bit, so that it doesn't melt the fondant. But again, if you are at Michael's, you can just grab one of these. This will work really well. And so I just want to make sure that it comes out before I place it on my decorations. All right, so what I'm going to suggest is you put the glue on the blossom as opposed to putting the glue on here and sticking it. So I'm just going to put a little dab and then take my smiley, place it right in the center. Now I just want to make sure that my ink is dry so that I could touch it. Right. And then I'm just going to set this for a few minutes so that the glue can dry a little. Again, a little dab of glue, a gentle press on the face. To make sure that both are stuck together, and we can continue with the other ones. And oh my gosh, these are so cute, right? All right, so we have two more. Let's do this little linking one. It's so fun. And then lastly, we'll do this. All right, let's see, which face do I want to use? I think this one looks pretty good. All right, all our smiley faces are together, looking super sweet. All right, now we can go ahead and put this on our cupcake. So I'm just gonna bring some of the cupcakes in. All right, so here we have this. And you can see that it's still a little soft because we don't have enough time on the live stream to let it dry. But if you're gonna do this, just let this sit out for a little bit just to get a little bit more firm. But you know, if you don't have time, you can definitely still do it now. We're just gonna gently tap that on. And there we go. So let's get a few more. I'm just gonna raise this up a bit so you can see everything. Move these out of the way. And then here's the other one where we did kind of like, instead of rosette, we did 5 different petals with the piping tip. Grab that, place it on here. And that's so cute because it matches like the petals on the decoration on the topper. Okay, we have another rosette. Place this right here. And then this one was the zigzag pattern that we did. Super fun. It's always easy to change up your design. I'm just gonna get a little bit of that buttercream in. All right, let's bring in a few more cupcakes. Okay, and this one is the one that I piped the center in last instead of in the beginning, but you'll see that we can just cover that up and you won't even notice. All right, and then let's do this one. There we go. Oh my goodness. When you have like a whole table filled with this, it's going to be so cute. And if you want to do some cupcakes with just smiley faces, you definitely can. Here I have a few extra cupcakes. So say you didn't want like, or you didn't have time to make so many blossoms, you can just literally stick a smiley face alone, or you can even kind of use them like sprinkles and put multiple on, just however you want. Just keep it fun, keep it varied. And then we have one more cupcake. So this one, I think I'll put this one on. All right, so what do you think? I hope you guys enjoyed making these Smiley Daisy cupcakes. That'll be fun for any occasion, really, any age, any party. I think anyone will enjoy this. All right, so that's it for class. If you guys have any questions, feel free. We'll be here for like another minute or so. But yeah, you can get everything here at Michael's, super accessible. All the things are from the Satin Ice line, and you'll see how easy everything is to work with. So we had fondant, we had edible markers, we had food color gels, and the buttercream frosting that already came ready to use, so you don't have to do anything else than just color it and pipe it. All right, hope everyone goes ahead and makes these over and over again and brings a lot of joy to your parties and special events with these Smiley Daisy cupcakes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Liz. Bye.
Of
Thank you, Liz.
course, of course.